An impatient bandit is ordered to hold his breath for a fleeting minute, the command hanging heavy in the dim alley. The brief reprieve amplifies the pulse of unease that already thrums through the shadows. Still under the watchful gaze of the bandit, the speaker lists the humble components: flour, salt, ground meat, and stresses that Murim must be harvested from the nearby brewers to shape sturdy buns. The mundane catalogue feels like a quiet promise of sustenance amid the lingering tension. With the bun plan forming, he notes the lack of tomatoes and suggests sauces as a suitable substitute, reminding that sugar already rests in the pantry. The improvisation adds a thin layer of optimism to the already uneasy atmosphere. Carrying that pragmatic resolve forward, he unveils a proposal for a modest enterprise, declaring that fair earnings are finally within reach. The prospect of honest profit flickers like a lantern in the gathering dusk. Before the contract could be sealed, he mentions a written agreement and asks how 50 silver taels per month sounds to the listener. The figure hovers in the air, a tangible measure of the newfound stability he seeks. Still clutching the notion of steady income, he inquires whether the 50 silver taels will indeed be delivered each month, vowing never to speak without conviction. The promise settles like a stone, weighing both hope and responsibility. Building on that vow, he affirms his identity as an honest orthodox martial artist, insisting that no order will ever compel him to take a life. The declaration threads integrity through the fabric of his ambition. Yet beneath the calm of his oath, he describes the rare plum blossom energy arts that nurture innate core power, likening them to the ancient techniques of Wudang and Tai Chi. The revelation of such refined cultivation adds a mystic edge to his resolve. With that understanding lingering, he offers gratitude to the newcomer, noting that the young practitioner from Manhwa now radiates a stronger aura than before. The subtle shift in presence signals a quiet triumph. Still impressed by the enhanced aura, he lauds the extraordinary energy pathways that have emerged, while warning that arrogance has begun to sprout in another's heart. The warning drapes the celebration with a shadow of caution. Before the tension could dissolve, he asserts that his body belongs to himself alone and urges an immediate halt to the reckless course, threatening disaster if correction is not made now. The urgency sharpens the charged silence around him. Carrying that warning forward, he extols the massive rewards each faction offers, praising the stellar performances, and greets Sir Chung Wunso after 3 long years. The reunion flickers with both respect and the weight of upcoming contests. Still basking in the honor of the meeting, he commemorates the young Jaegao, pledging to embody the title of Treasure of Humanity and Supreme Strategist of the Jaegao clan. The aspiration lifts his bearing like a banner in the wind. Even as pride swells, he apologizes for any offense, acknowledging the 5 great clans and 9 great sects, and admits his earlier misunderstanding. The humility steadies the atmosphere after the earlier fervor. With that humility still resonating, he chuckles, noting that the once weakling has grown loquacious, now speaking only of flower rains. The laugh hints at a subtle transformation buried beneath the surface. Still smiling, he greets Sir Chung after the long interval and inquires about the prizes awaiting participants of this year's Great Young Dragon Summit. The question rekindles the competitive fire that had begun to dim. Carrying that curiosity, he reveals that the coveted Divine Sun Sword and the 10,000-year Ice Essence will be added as prizes for the forthcoming summit. The revelation paints the contest in an even brighter, almost mythic light. While the new awards gleam, he recounts the Great Border Murim War, its myriad palaces locked in struggle and the involvement of martial gods alongside the heavenly Sema. The memory of that massive clash hangs like a distant thunder. Still echoing the war's legacy, he confirms that the Divine Sun Sword and the Ice Essence belong to the Divine Sun Palace and the Northern Sea Ice Palace, gifts bestowed by the martial goddess clan for the summit. The provenance adds a sacred weight to the forthcoming contest. Holding that lineage in mind, he notes the unusual absence of the Sema clan from this iteration, a departure from tradition. Their silence sharpens the anticipation of who will claim the new prizes. Even as the Sema clan retreats, he declares that the fear they inspire can be turned into a chance for surpassing the Manhwa sect. The resolve to rise above the shadowed power fuels the gathering is momentum. Still conscious of that ambition, he warns that arrogance has no place among those walking the Taoist path, insisting that a demon must not be allowed to fester in this sacred land. The admonition steadies the hearts of those present. While the warning lingers, he remarks that he merely spoke of God as intimidation, a phrase meant to underscore the gravity of the situation. The clarification tempers the earlier fervor. Even as the discourse steadies, he describes a god who emerged within Murim, a cult leader of the heavenly demon-divine cult, the very symbol of ultimate evil. The image casts a dark silhouette over the gathering is hopes. Holding that ominous figure in mind, he explains that orthodox martial artists cursed the art, for his body was engulfed in violet demonic flames upon the battlefield. The cursed sight deepens the dread that already clings to the air. Still recalling the violet blaze, he notes that the internal arts of the Manhwa sect mirrored the Violet Dawn demonic arts, also known as the Violet Dawn divine arts. The similarity hints at hidden currents flowing between sects. While that connection brews, he observes that the overwhelming power, internal energy, and purple flames are alike, prompting the Manhwa sect to visit various schools to verify the Violet Dawn divine art. The investigation underscores the seriousness of the newfound threat. Even as the verification continues, senior martial artist Sage Iliang declares the Violet Dawn divine arts orthodox, insisting he perceives no demonic resonance within them. The endorsement attempts to restore balance to a wavering perception. Yet the lingering doubt remains, as he remarks that something once cleared cannot simply be believed again. The skepticism threads a thin line of uncertainty through the assembled minds. Holding that uncertainty, he wonders how he would explain a mess to everyone should chaos erupt around them. The question prickles the conscience of each listener. While the fear of chaos simmers, he asks why they behave so oddly on such a grand occasion, noting that future trials will reveal who truly masters the art. The challenge hangs like a promise of imminent judgment. Even as the scrutiny sharpens, he mentions Sir Jo Hwi, a guest of the Namgong clan, whose inexperience warrants patience, and he thanks the audience while requesting restraint when no eyes are watching. The plea for understanding softens the mounting tension. Still seeking clarity amidst the din, he bluntly asks who on earth the interlocutor truly is. The question pierces the veil of anonymity that has lingered. Holding that inquiry, he concludes that even a master cannot perform a material shift, invoking the divine as the ultimate limit. The final statement cements the stark boundary between mortal ambition and celestial decree. An unnamed figure, his eyes flickered with an almost desperate hunger to witness the hidden secret that lay beyond the veil. Without hesitation, they stepped forward, offering to lead the way and unveil what had remained unseen. Still carrying the urgency of that yearning, the voice whispered of concealed life force, daring to cheat the heavens themselves. With a twin flame body as their weapon, they proclaimed a battle against the lurking devil spirit, each strike a defiance of celestial order. Before the resolve could settle, doubts surged as the speaker questioned the twin flames' motives and the very purpose of fighting his own true self. The echo of Manhwa's legendary sword rang through the words, its shadow clashing with an ominous, evil blade that threatened to rend the soul. Yet beneath that philosophical turmoil, a proclamation rang out like a thunderclap, declaring that divine will guided every breath and the very flesh they wore was an embodiment of celestial truth. This assertion anchored the swirling doubts with the weight of godly certainty. With that divine certainty still echoing, a new question pierced the air, probing the idle dreams of Taoist seekers. The speaker asked how those who chased a life of leisure became devoured by hollow desires, their aspirations turning to ash. Still pondering that lament, the focus shifted to a relic of power. The narrative named the amethyst sword Dan Cheon-yang, its name resonating like a cold chant through the hall. Before the legend could settle, the speaker described a mind state so transcendent it could reshape opponents. He spoke of a legendary mental form that wavered reality, turning foes into reflections of their own doubt, recalling a meeting with a sage whose silence held the key to mastering such shifting. Yet the memory of that sage lingered, prompting a harsh critique of a corrupt act. The speaker condemned the one who had tainted a disciple with demonic energy, painting such betrayal as a stain upon the very path of enlightenment. While the accusation fanned the flames of disillusion, a sobering truth was uttered. The voice reminded that even those who cultivate the Tao remain bound by their humanity, their mortal nature never fully escaping earthly shackles. Still echoing that mortal reminder, the speaker turned a cold gaze toward a member of the Tao clan. He commanded the disciple to cut through greed and anguish with the blade of his own life, a final, solitary prayer whispered amid the clamor of ambition. Before the echo of that command faded, curiosity about deeper transformations resurfaced. The speaker inquired whether the mind-form shifter possessed the ability to truly shift its essence, the question lingering like a mist over a battlefield. Yet amidst those speculative doubts, a stark statement grounded the discourse. It was declared that no individual could interfere with the natural order of the world, which stood beyond the reach of mortal meddling. Still reverberating that inevitability, the speaker turned his gaze toward the immortal realm. He wondered if the celestial world would dare meddle in the affairs of his dynasty, mentioning a sage tethered by blood jade. Before the contemplation could settle, a warning cut through the silence. The speaker cautioned against interference, asserting he had earned the right to act, and challenged the junior to surrender the craving for demonic energy. Yet the tension sharpened when the opponent's pretensions were called into question. The speaker challenged the other's claim to Manhwa sword doctrines, daring them to endure the blade's wrath. While the duel loomed, a broader truth unfolded across the ages. The narration declared that throughout Murim history, godly power had always lingered, unseen yet potent. Still bathed in that historic weight, a sharper admonition fell upon the challenger. The warning warned that intoxication with demonic energy rendered one unfit to approach the Manhwa sword teachings. Before the scent of hubris could settle, another image emerged. The text evoked the dark-scented plum, its fragrance symbolizing an arrogance born from excess. With the perfume of arrogance fading, a fresh perspective blossomed. The speaker noted that nature itself seemed to pay respect to the general, marking the scene as a new beginning. Yet that reverence was intertwined with ancient tradition. The passage described the 3-century legacy of Manhwa, its legend blooming alongside dark-scented plum blossoms, painting a tableau of enduring martial spirit. Emerging from a void of silence, he awakens with the weight of emptiness cleared from his soul. The world now opens before him, offering a fresh chance to walk beside the legendary sword god. Still carrying the resolve of his rebirth, he bows in gratitude for the teachings that guided him, and for the hand that saved Wasan from ruin. The gratitude burns like a quiet fire, urging him forward. Before he could steady himself further, remorse wells up, and he silently begs for forgiveness, hoping his plea reaches the ears of those he has wronged. The apology hangs heavy, a strand of hope amid lingering doubt. Yet beneath that calm, a single weight bears his name, a reminder that destiny has christened him with a purpose he cannot ignore. The name drifts like an unseen anchor, pulling at his thoughts. With that realization lingering, he unleashes a swift strike that shatters Wasan in a single blow, the flash of steel echoing his newfound resolve. The defeat reverberates, sealing the moment of his dominance. Following the echo of that victory, the sword god himself carves a path through the strongest of the era, Chung-un So, leaving a trail of awe in his wake. The fallen clan head his fall marks a turning point, reshaping the balance of power. After witnessing such unparalleled power, he knows he must now sway the sword god, persuading the deity to align with his own ambitions. The need to convince glimmers like a distant star, demanding careful words. Before he can find the right words, he resolves to explain that no disturbances are truly necessary, that the chaos may be avoided altogether. The explanation forms a quiet plea amid the storm of expectations. While his mind spins with diplomatic thoughts, the legend of the 10,000-year ice spirit of the North Sea surfaces, prized by those who master the chill of the elements. Its value glints like frozen crystal, promising power to the worthy. Still contemplating the spirit, he learns it resembles an ice coffin, a solemn vault where one can lie and train the deepest ice arts. The image of a frozen sanctuary settles into his strategy. With that chilling image in view, ancient myths whisper that the spirit has endured for over a millennium, a testament to its timeless might. The mythic longevity adds weight to its coveted allure. Before he can decide its worth, he wonders under which field of the upcoming event this relic should be classified, seeking a proper arena for its display. The question hangs, a puzzle amid preparations. Yet the organizer holds the final say, and he admits his own ignorance of the decision, leaving him reliant on another's decree. The lack of control tightens around his intentions. Despite this uncertainty, he declares his lineage from the Namgung clan, recalling the whispered tales of the event as grand prizes. The clan his name echoes, grounding his resolve. Recalling the rewards, he notes that the sparring champion claims the Mok Gong is treasured sword, a blade that crowns the victorious clan in the military drills. The promise of that steel fuels his competitive fire. Equally, the literary theory contest bestows honor upon those who excel in debate, calligraphy, and artistic critique, a prize beyond the grasp of those lacking refined talent. The distinction between sword and scroll sharpens his focus. Even as he reflects on the contests, he mentions that the schedule for the literary theory mirrors other events, and that he himself held the title of last year's winner. The memory of his past triumphs steadies his confidence. Facing his own mediocrity in drawing and writing, he resolves to lean on ideology derived from elder man Sanjo's wisdom, seeking a strategic edge. The reliance on ancient knowledge becomes his new compass. With that resolve lingering, he declares the competition has already begun, inviting anyone daring enough to spar over literature to step forward. The open challenge rings like a bell across the gathering. Before the challengers gather, he suggests a self-assessment, probing whether his skills have truly improved since his last victory. The introspection serves as a quiet benchmark. Having measured his own growth, he plans to confront the Yolm lady, granting the challenger the freedom to choose the terms of their duel. The impending face-off promises a clash of wills. Amid the mounting tension, he provokes the assembly, daring them to speak of the decayed school once more, insisting no critique surpasses the dissection of Confucianism. The bold provocation sharpens the atmosphere. Still riding that fervor, he reminds everyone that the downfall of the Jin dynasty followed 2 decades of strict legalism, urging a shift in discussion away from past grievances. The historical parallel fuels the debate. Drawing on that history, he argues that legalism is failure stemmed from its oppressive intent, while a just system would have endured with fairness. The critique of tyranny outlines his envisioned order. Continuing the thread, he asserts that true legalism must treat every individual equally, regardless of rank, as the cornerstone of a stable realm. The principle of impartial justice glows like a beacon. Yet he recalls that the Jin dynasty punished adultery with immediate execution, a stark reminder of how harsh enforcement can cripple society. The memory of such severity adds a sobering weight. Questioning this severity, he ponders whether a nation's leader should be reduced to the status of a commoner in the name of social justice. The contemplation of equality versus hierarchy deepens the discourse. To clarify his stance, he likens the nation to a single family, with the emperor as the father and the people as his children, suggesting a natural hierarchy within unity. The familial metaphor weaves together authority and care. Yet he notes that such a structure is often criticized as mere privilege, a cloak for entrenched power. The criticism hangs like a lingering doubt over the ideal. Prompted by that doubt, he asks whether the teaching of universal equality clashes with the notion of the emperor as paternal head. The question probes the heart of governance. He responds that while all humans share innate equality, emperors occupy distinct categories, set apart from ordinary folk. The distinction tries to reconcile the paradox. Reflecting further, he points out that the Jin dynasty's downfall came from applying laws fairly yet coupling them with excessively harsh punishments. The balance of justice and severity becomes his caution. Consequently, he wonders if there exist methods to obey imperial commands without invoking severe penalties, given the draconian consequences for adultery and deceit. The search for leniency fuels his inquiry. He proposes that crimes be divided into mild and severe, each receiving proportionate retribution, crafting a legal framework rooted in balance. The proposal seeks to temper authority with reason. Within that framework, he insists that taking a life must be classified as a severe transgression, while lesser offenses fall into the mild tier. The hierarchy of crime sharpens his envisioned justice. He observes that both legalism and Confucianism already address offenses like theft, burglary, and the defamation of reputation, providing a foundation for his classification. The existing doctrines lend credence to his vision. Building on these ideas, he envisions a nation where every citizen may vote freely, unbound by regulation, guiding leadership toward efficiency and protection. The democratic ideal glimmers as a possible future. Yet he admits puzzlement at the notion of granting ordinary people such authority, finding it difficult to reconcile with his earlier convictions. The dissonance lingers, a knot of uncertainty. He questions how a nation's destiny can be entrusted to those who cannot even parse a single political perspective, fearing ignorance at the helm. The doubt deepens, casting shadows on the proposed freedom. Calling such contemptuous assumptions haughty, he argues that deeming everyone illiterate merely because they lack eloquent expression is a grave misjudgment. The rebuke underscores his respect for humble wisdom. He reminds listeners that even a diligent farmer tends his parents, protects his spouse, battles bandits, and shares his harvest, embodying virtue without scholarly acclaim. The farmer is simple honor shines as a counterpoint. Concluding his reflection, he declares a desire to contest others in the art of writing, seeking to measure his words against theirs. The final proclamation sets the stage for a literary duel yet to unfold. After the dust settled, Jo decided to begin documenting the battle's aftermath. The ink of resolve glimmered, marking the first step toward preserving truth. He felt the weight of history pressing against his pen. Still carrying that resolve, he called for a brush, the humble tool that would translate his steel-wrought experience onto paper. The request echoed his determination to capture every fleeting detail. Before he could steady his hand, he realized a brush had been lost, yet his opponent had already yielded. The irony of a missing tool amid surrender weighed heavily on him. With that reminder lingering, he confessed his own loss and pressed for the name of his counterpart. The inquiry cut through the silence, seeking identity in the aftermath of defeat. Meanwhile, the lesson that someone always surpasses him settled like a cold wind, reshaping his humility. He recognized the stark truth that greatness often lies beyond one's grasp. The revelation sharpened as Jo stepped forward, introducing himself to the young master bearing the same name. The shared moniker hung between them like a fragile bridge. Still bearing the echo of that introduction, Jo asked if his companion had truly awakened and felt well. His concern dripped with the lingering care of a mentor. Before the doubt could settle, he pledged to restore his companion's key with his own effort. The promise sparked a flicker of renewed vigor within the wounded. With that vow resonating, he dismissed the notion that the technique belonged to Namgung, urging the abandonment of revenge. He urged the path forward to be forged by new purpose, not old grudges. Still emboldened, he declared he would train until bone shattered and skin peeled away. Such fierce resolve painted the horizon with a promise of relentless ascent. Before the next breath, he inquired whether enlightenment had already brushed his mind. The question lingered, a mirror reflecting the gap between aspiration and attainment. With that contemplation lingering, he noted the swift recovery of the wounded. The speed of healing surprised even the seasoned eyes that watched. Meanwhile, personal matters compelled him to withdraw from the sparring grounds. He stepped back, the arena's echo fading behind him as responsibilities called. Before the departure could settle, he vowed never to flee from another's blade again. The promise forged a silent oath, anchoring his future conduct. With that resolve solidifying, he advised hardening one's heart, for life's unexpected turns demand steel. His counsel carried the weight of experience, urging preparedness. Meanwhile, a warning rose, urging a distant figure to keep their distance and not touch him. The command cut through the lingering tension like a blade. Before the warning could be fully absorbed, he claimed the sword god had struck him, insisting it was not his own doing. He deflected blame, painting the divine assault as an external force. With that accusation unfinished, he confessed confusion, noting he had not been informed. His bewilderment lingered, a cloud over the certainty he sought. Meanwhile, he announced his departure from Hwasan, the name of the place hanging in the air. The exit marked another step away from the lingering conflict. Before the path cleared, he charged the other with cowardice, accusing them of fleeing from the inevitable confrontation. The accusation dripped with the sting of perceived betrayal. With that tension still humming, he insisted he was not mad and refused to battle the junior sword lord. His declaration steadied his stance, refusing to be drawn into petty disputes. Meanwhile, he reminded his counterpart to peruse the contract as fine print before sealing the agreement. The reminder echoed the prudence earned through countless trials. Before the ink could dry, he wondered aloud whether joy would still bloom after the contract as details were revealed. The question hinted at lingering doubts about the bargain's true cost. With that doubt lingering, he decreed that they would reconvene later, directing the other to remain at the appointed spot. The instruction anchored a future meeting amid the shifting currents. Meanwhile, he accepted the orders, requesting to be addressed as boss. The title settled over him like a mantle, signaling authority. Before the title could settle, he inquired whether the ice spirit could bear a massive load during his absence, noting the need for a notary. The request blended practicality with the lingering mystique of spirits. With that plan forming, he observed that 3 days had passed in silence, urging the revelation of the sword grave's location. The urgency grew, for knowledge withheld threatened their cause. Meanwhile, he disclosed that recruitment was underway, probing if the listener was already aware. The invitation opened a doorway to new alliances, hinting at the next chapter is unfolding. An unnamed voice probes the identity of the Red Bear Gus squad, searching for the truth behind its feared reputation. The question hangs in the air like a cold wind over the battlefield. Still carrying the weight of that inquiry, a nearby soldier suggests shielding the chest muscles just a little, as if a modest adjustment could alter the outcome. The advice drifts into the tense silence, hinting at hidden vulnerabilities. Before he could steady himself, another figure identifies a term as the second in Japanese, adding another layer of cryptic knowledge to the discussion. The revelation flickers like a distant lantern in the gathering darkness. Yet beneath that calm, an unnamed observer wonders what is truly unfolding, demanding clarity amid the growing confusion. Their inquiry presses the group to confront the chaotic swirl of events. With that realization lingering, the Red Bear GLST squad leader reappears, his gaze sharp as he questions a lingering expression on a comrade's face. The encounter reignites tension that has simmered since the first query. Meanwhile, the same leader affirms that the challenger possesses guts and is now surrounded by righteous sect warriors, a grudging acknowledgement of his resolve. The words taste of both admiration and warning. Still bearing the weight of looming conflict, the scene expands to reveal a remote location over 40 kilometers from Hwasan, where clan warriors assemble and distant cries for aid fall unheard. The isolation deepens the sense of impending doom. Before the night deepens, an unnamed voice remarks that violent evil sect bastards speak casually, their flippant words a stark contrast to the gravity of the situation. The observation drips with disgust, underscoring the moral chasm. Yet beneath that contempt, a deeper analysis emerges, pointing to the leader's actions toward the Namgung clan as the root cause, and declaring that barbaric methods cannot mend the wounds. The council urges a more measured approach amidst the bloodshed. With that warning echoing, a limit is declared for those whose minds are clouded by monetary desires, suggesting greed binds their judgment. The admonition casts a shadow over those who chase only riches. Still carrying the weight of that moral rebuke, a probing question rises: can they still claim the proud name of the Red Bear Gus squad? The doubt hangs like a blade over their legacy. Before the tension could settle, the golden wanbo is hurled at the leader of the Red Bear GLST squad, the fiercest mountain bandit, and a silent claim is made that it is desired. The act crackles with raw ambition and challenge. Meanwhile, whispers spread that the target of the throw is filthy rich, his wealth a stark backdrop to the violent display. The description adds an unsettling layer of power dynamics. Yet beneath that material excess, a quote from Confucius surfaces, reminding that a virtuous man is revenge will not be delayed. The ancient wisdom breathes a cold certainty into the present clash. With that philosophical echo lingering, another inquiry pierces the air, demanding to know if this truly reflects one's thoughts and who they truly are. The question forces introspection amid external turmoil. Still bearing the weight of self-examination, a voice asks if departure is now possible, seeking an exit from the mounting pressure. The request signals fatigue and a yearning for resolution. Before any answer could form, a solemn statement reminds them that they will meet each other again, a promise sewn into the fabric of fate. The words linger like a distant drumbeat. Yet beneath that promise, another affirmation echoes: they will indeed cross paths once more, reinforcing the inevitability of their intertwined destinies. The certainty settles like dust on the battlefield. With that inevitability looming, a comparison is drawn to Faker from the world of League of Legends, casting the subject in the mold of a legendary tactician. The analogy sharpens the perception of skill and deception. Meanwhile, a claim rises that he should scream like a demon, questioning whether he is merely sulking beneath his facade. The accusation cuts deeper than any blade. Still carrying the weight of those harsh judgments, the directive emerges to head toward a lone tree and ascend Dangi Mountain after crossing the forest's edge. The path promises both challenge and revelation. Before the ascent can begin, a warning rushes through the air: the sun will set soon, urging haste before darkness claims the trail. The urgency presses the group forward. Yet beneath that urgency, a query arises about how they are expected to climb, highlighting the sheer difficulty of the looming vertical ascent. The doubt clings like cold mist. With that doubt lingering, another voice asks if they wish to continue, noting the impending darkness as the sun wanes. The temptation to halt grows stronger. Still bearing the weight of indecision, an explanation surfaces: this is revenge, and though he knows a shortcut, he forces them to climb, revealing a cruel test of resolve. The motive sharpens the bitterness of the journey. Before the climb can be completed, a harsh truth is spoken: a pathetic resolve will get you nowhere while you scramble up the cliff. The admonition steels the heart against weakness. Yet beneath that encouragement, a question emerges whether this place is the Sword Grave, the fabled sanctuary of blades. The inquiry adds mythic weight to the climb. With that legend in mind, it is declared that what one receives upon entering depends on themselves, urging a pious heart free of malice. The council frames the trial as a reflection of inner purity. Still carrying that introspection, a voice wonders if someone dwells within the cave, mentioning traces that hint at an unseen presence. The suspicion fuels both curiosity and caution. Before the mystery could deepen, it is noted that countless sword marks litter the sword grave, embodying its true essence. The discovery paints the cavern with a haunting tapestry of steel. Meanwhile, an eager learner asks the elder if merely gazing upon those marks could grant mastery, despite lacking formal martial training. The hope glimmers like a fledgling fire. Yet beneath that hopeful yearning, a proclamation declares the sword marks as the true heritage of a god, infusing them with divine authority. The revelation elevates the stakes to celestial height. Still bearing the weight of divinity, the notion arises that no perfection exists in martial arts, yet one can become the very definition of perfection themselves. The paradox challenges the seeker to transcend limits. Before the chapter could close, a final question lingers, demanding how such an impossible ideal could possibly be realized. The query leaves the air heavy with anticipation. Tam reached out across the void and called the Ged, his voice a thin thread stretching toward destiny. The echo of his summons lingered in the silent corridors of the ancient hall. Still carrying the weight of that call, the Ged manifested, embodying a presence that radiated undeniable greatness. His aura colored the dim space with a subtle, yet unmistakable, promise of power. Before he could steady himself, a thought sparked within the Ged, hinting that this moment could be the fulcrum of his path. The possibility of change lingered like a tightening knot in his chest. Yet beneath that calm, another voice probed the depths of forgotten knowledge, asking whether the ancient scripts, copied yet indecipherable, could be read. The question hung in the air, a challenge to unveil what time had concealed. With that curiosity lingering, his mind turned to the cold mathematics of the world, calculating vectors, constant acceleration, and a gravity-bound formula to achieve perpetual free fall. Numbers swirled like invisible runes, guiding his next experiment. Still pondering the equations, he affirmed that the marks left behind belonged to one from the original world, and he pressed for the moment the hidden cave was first uncovered. The revelation added a new layer to the mystery that enveloped him. Before he could fully grasp the implication, the final sword was declared no longer the work of mortal hands. Its creation whispered of forces beyond ordinary craftsmanship. Yet the valley bore the imprint of his solitary sword mark, the last testament of his hand upon the landscape. The scar of steel stood as a silent witness to his passage. With that lingering echo, the enormity of his achievement unfolded, a 4-kilometer-long deep valley carved by a single man. The scale of the feat weighed heavily upon his thoughts. Still absorbing the magnitude, he devoted 44 days to studying the ancient wall that bordered the abyss. Each sunrise marked another fragment of understanding etched into his mind. Before the wall could surrender its secrets, he cast aside sword techniques that defied the laws of physics, sorting the remaining arts into 3 tiers and arranging their formulas. 100 days later, the groundwork for a new doctrine lay firmly in place. Yet the quiet of his study was broken by a deeper inquiry into the foundations of clan techniques, noting the shaman clan's double-mindedness as a method that maximized variable parameters. The observation sparked a fresh line of theoretical exploration. With that insight lingering, he explained that dividing the mind to wield 2 techniques simultaneously multiplied the variables engaged in combat. The concept resonated like a chord struck within his consciousness. Meanwhile, his analysis turned to the geometry of contact, concluding that reducing the standard deviation of the impact point demanded a linear approach rather than a curved one. The shift in perspective hinted at a more precise path forward. Still tracing that line, he attributed the critical juncture of movement to actions that a human body could actually perform. The grounding of theory in flesh gave his calculations a tangible anchor. Before he could celebrate his discovery, a stark truth emerged: without a body capable of embodying the formula, even flawless mathematics would remain useless. The limitation weighed on him like iron. Yet the realization lingered, prompting him to assert that training the body to replicate the formula must precede any further pursuit. The priority shifted from thought to relentless physical discipline. With that priority set, he faced the fragility of his own flesh after planting a moving dot on the wall and counting the attempts needed to strike it precisely. The experiment exposed the delicate dance between intent and anatomical constraint. Still wrestling with that fragility, it took him 2 years to master a simple vector movement linking point A to point B. The prolonged toil etched patience into his very marrow. Before the timeline could end, he questioned whether the figure behind the wall was truly human after 4,685 days of relentless study. Doubt seeped in like a slow-burning ember. Yet the doubts were tempered by a new awareness: physical training alone could not grant complete command over the body, but visualization granted a serene glimpse of his inner self. The mind as I became his quiet sanctuary. With that serenity lingering, he described the ability to shrink beneath atoms or expand beyond the universe, replicating imagined motions of dots, lines, and planes with flawless precision. The scope of his perception seemed boundless. Meanwhile, the barrier between imagination and reality fractured, allowing him to exist without breath as the distinction dissolved. The newfound freedom pulsed through his veins like raw energy. Still feeling the breathless pulse, after 6,932 days of wall study, his physical form finally mirrored every formula perfectly. The culmination of years of perseverance glowed like a sunrise over the valley. Before the world could recognize his transformation, he claimed to perceive the essence of every phenomenon, akin to Neo within the Matrix, with nature as laws fully integrated into his being. The revelation resonated like a chorus of unseen forces. Yet the cosmic awareness attracted the attention of great celestial beings, their focus converging upon his singular path. Their silent watch added weight to his ascent. With that celestial scrutiny lingering, he sensed both the meteor sword and the meteorite in unison, a sign of the highest comprehension of heaven is and earth is celestial blade. The dual perception forged a luminous bridge between realms. Still humbled by the insight, he confessed that the term genius fell woefully short of capturing his state. The inadequacy of language underscored the magnitude of his enlightenment. Before he could settle on a new descriptor, he proclaimed that fate itself had been arranged for him by the heavens, and that he now served as a bridge to that destiny. The notion settled like a heavy stone in his soul. Yet the weight of destiny was mirrored in Jo, who had slipped into his world of visualization for 3 years without realizing the passage of time. The unnoticed immersion added another layer to the unfolding tapestry. With that warning echoing, he urged caution in handling the celestial cloud carriage and questioned whether the listener understood its true cost. The reminder carried the gravity of hidden price tags. Since acquiring the carriage, he finally set his sights on the Jieha Hotel, the next waypoint on his journey. The movement forward felt like a breath after long repression. Before arriving, he inquired about the nature of the clan is hall, seeking clarity on the destination is purpose. The question lingered like a soft ripple on still water. Still awaiting an answer, he welcomed the visitor to Jo clan is hall and asked for their order, his tone measured and courteous. The hall's atmosphere seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. Meanwhile, he specified a request for 6 layered meat patties and refreshing black water, asking the patron to wait a moment. The simple demand grounded the scene amid the lingering grandeur. With that order noted, he confirmed the cost would be 99 iron coins, the price echoing through the hall's stone walls. The figure added a tangible weight to the transaction. Before the exchange could conclude, he accepted a single silver as payment, still noting the original price of 99 iron coins. The disparity hinted at an unseen bargain. Yet the final tasting moment arrived, and he described the dish as wonderful, its flavor surpassing the modest cost of a single silver coin. The satisfaction lingered, a quiet triumph after a long pursuit. The sight of a heavenly carriage is a marvel whispered about only once each year, its arrival a silent omen in the bustling streets. Its rarity has turned it into a symbol of destiny, drawing the eyes of every wandering soul who dares to glimpse its celestial glow. Against that backdrop of reverence, young Master Co Moon steps forward, his purpose to escort the privileged guests through the fleeting wonder. The weight of his responsibility mirrors the rarity of the carriage itself, binding his fate to the momentary grace of the heavens. Still carrying the weight of the master's duty, Hong Jumbo offers his own escort to Hyung Nim, probing whether any predestined connection already threads their lives together. The question hangs in the air like a delicate thread, hinting at unseen ties that may yet shape the night. Before the echo of Jumbo's inquiry fades, a group steps forward, presenting themselves as the very contacts meant to guide Hyung Nim toward beautiful women. Their introduction weaves a promise of companionship into the already tangled web of expectations. Yet, amidst the growing network of introductions, the master of the Peng family finds the door barred, his entry denied by unseen forces. The rejection casts a shadow over the gathering, reminding all that privilege can be as fragile as a whispered invitation. Undeterred, the hosts politely ask Hyung Nim to return on another occasion, probing his age as if measuring his suitability for the night's offerings. Their curiosity adds a layer of scrutiny, turning each answer into a subtle assessment of worth. A stark warning follows, cautioning any drunken guest to retreat before the night claims them, a grim reminder that revelry can quickly turn lethal. The threat lingers like a cold breath, tempering the earlier optimism with a hint of dread. Meanwhile, manager Jang steps forward, assuring Hyung Nim that nothing untoward is unfolding and that there is no cause for worry. His calm reassurance seeks to smooth the tension, offering a brief oasis of calm in the growing storm of uncertainty. Before the manager can finish, he mentions his own recent promotion, his spirits buoyed by the novelty of his role, and suggests that they return home for rest. The fleeting optimism of his newfound position injects a momentary lightness into the otherwise heavy atmosphere. Yet beneath that calm, a rule emerges, binding the privileges of male guests exclusively toward women, an unspoken contract that colors every interaction. The stipulation sharpens the social dynamics, making each gesture carry the weight of expectation. With that rule settled, the hosts extend a modest hospitality, free snacks and 3 portions of rice for any arriving guest. The simple generosity serves as a quiet balm, momentarily easing the strain of the evening is unspoken obligations. Amid the humble offerings, a figure appears atop a heavenly horse carriage, descending with an air of solemn grandeur. His arrival ties the night as earlier whispers of rarity to a tangible presence, reinforcing the notion that destiny rides on celestial steeds. Still awash in admiration for the rider, the hosts now counsel seeking the coveted love room, a space whispered about as the pinnacle of intimate indulgence. Their advice hints that true pleasure lies not merely in presence, but in securing the sanctum where hearts may truly converge. Before a decision can settle, they reveal that proximity to the dance stage inflates the price, probing how best to escort the patron there. The revelation adds a pragmatic sting to the romance, reminding all that desire is often measured in coin. The cost is laid bare, 20 niang in silver tokens for the coveted closeness to the rhythm of the dancers. The price punctuates the night as negotiations, turning elegance into an exacting ledger. Amid the calculations, young Master Jo Moon places an order for wine, a silent signal of his intent to soften the transaction with conviviality. His choice weaves hospitality into the fabric of commerce, blurring the line between duty and indulgence. Yet curiosity persists, as the attendants inquire about the identity of a certain figure lingering nearby, their questioning a subtle probe into hidden alliances. The lingering presence becomes a focal point, pulling attention toward a mystery that could shift the night's balance. In response, Master Jo Moon is presented with snowflake wine, its crystalline clarity reflecting the chill of the moment. The drink's delicate appearance mirrors the fragile negotiations that now swirl around him. Further demands surface, requesting 2 more bottles of the same snowflake wine in exchange for 120 niang of gold tokens. The escalating exchange underscores the steep price of refinement within these hallowed walls. The staff pledge to retrieve the bottles promptly, vowing their utmost effort to serve the distinguished guest. Their commitment adds a layer of earnest dedication, a silent promise that the night's luxuries will be honored. Amid the bustle, the manager pauses to ask what troubles may be lurking beneath the surface. His query hints at unseen strains, a reminder that even polished service can conceal inner discord. The answer emerges coldly: the patron will soon be called upon to settle the balance, an inevitable reminder that every pleasure carries a debt. The inevitability of payment steadies the scene, anchoring indulgence to responsibility. A distant tale surfaces, recalling how the leader of the Jiam family squandered his entire fortune within a single month, a cautionary echo of excess. The memory hangs in the air like a warning, tempering the night's extravagance with the specter of ruin. In another corner of the realm, the great frozen stone treasury now demands over half a day to solidify, its production capped at 750 kilograms of ice each day. The extended freeze mirrors the slowing of momentum, as even the most steadfast structures must yield to time. Underlying this icy labor is a quiet law: the total energy of an isolated system remains constant, a principle that binds even the coldest hands to immutable truth. This scientific anchor adds an unexpected gravitas to the frosty endeavors, reminding all of the universe's impartial balance. Within these constraints, the council contemplates appointing a new gatekeeper, a figure who might safeguard the treasury's secrets. The notion of a guardian introduces a human element to the otherwise mechanical rhythm of ice and law. The discourse turns toward the eternal frozen essence, a coveted treasure from the northern sea's palace that empowers masters of the frozen arts. Its legendary value fuels the desire of many, promising power to those who can harness its chill. Consequently, thoughts drift to inviting the renowned master of frozen arts from the Seol family, whose expertise could unlock the essence's deepest potential. The invitation bears the weight of hope, a promise that mastery may be guided by seasoned hands. To seal this alliance, a grand proposal is laid out, an abundant salary paired with eternal flower essence, crafted to train the frozen arts within the stone treasury. The generous terms illuminate a path where ambition meets generosity, aiming to forge a legacy as enduring as the ice itself. Heard the council is cold decree, the notion of wealth faded, leaving only a single, chilling command: forge ice. Their sole demand resonated like frost on stone, drowning ambitions in a relentless pursuit of frozen creation. Still carrying the weight of that austere proclamation, an unnamed voice pierced the hush, questioning whether he possessed the brilliance of a genius. The inquiry hung over the workshop like a frosted breath, challenging his resolve to meet the impossible standard. Before he could steady himself against the accusation, his thoughts drifted to the ancient refrigerators of the North Ocean, relics he had carelessly tended. Shame curled within him, a cold ember igniting as he realized the futility of his stewardship over millennia-old ice. Yet beneath that shame, the memory of a distant stronghold resurfaced, a place so remote it demanded 6 months just to return. During the Great War, the North Sea Ice Palace was shattered, its sovereign dragged to the streets of Hunan province, bound and left to starve, a betrayal echoing through the ages. With that haunting recollection lingering, the weight of the past transformed into a bitter incentive, a bounty of 1,000 gold coins for any who could summon ice. The promise glittered like frost-kissed metal, tempting desperate hands to shape what had once been cursed. Meanwhile, an unnamed figure demanded clarity, probing the crowd to identify the culprits behind the chaos. The question cut through the murmurs, seeking to expose the hidden hands that had set the icy siege in motion. He turned his gaze to the prisoners locked within a house-like prison, each bearing a crimson bear tattoo, symbols of a tormented past. The lingering doubt about how long they had endured captivity and whether they had healed weighed heavily upon the assembled. Before his thoughts could settle, the report came: half a year had already passed, and the summons to bring the marked ones forward was urgent. The urgency pressed the already strained atmosphere, urging swift action before any more time slipped away. Yet beneath that urgency, he declared that he had gathered every captive, yet only their leader possessed the right to step forward. The restriction added a brittle tension, as the fate of the others now hinged on the leader's solitary passage. Meanwhile, his voice rose in a frantic cadence, repeatedly invoking the name of Mr. Kong, seeking his presence amid the turmoil. The repeated summons reverberated through the hall, a desperate plea for an ally whose arrival seemed increasingly distant. Before the echo could fade, a sharper query cut through: what had become of Mr. Kong? The unanswered mystery deepened the uncertainty, casting a shadow over the already fraught gathering. Yet beneath the lingering doubt, the captives pressed for a bargain: grant them freedom in exchange for completing the perilous task. Their assent arrived like a cold wind, a pact forged on the thin ice of desperation. Meanwhile, remorse settled upon him like frost on his shoulders. 3 years passed, he had failed to annihilate the 10,000-year-old ice field. The cascade of abnormal events that followed now weighed on his conscience, a relentless reminder of that missed chance. With that lingering regret, a simple remedy entered the scene: cold tea, noted for soothing sore stomachs, was carried into the house. The modest brew offered a fleeting warmth, a small comfort amid the chilling schemata surrounding them. Yet beneath the comforting steam, unrest brewed as their newfound influence caused even seasoned officials and high-ranking officials to lose their positions and descend in complaint. The grievances swelled like a tide, turning the once respectable hall into a chorus of disgruntled voices. Meanwhile, the arrival of a delivery man supplying food to guests amplified their sway, while escort agencies felt the strain. The shift in power reverberated through the city's underbelly, reshaping alliances with each parcel delivered. Yet beneath that economic tremor, innovators unveiled a revolutionary carriage, dubbed cars, that swiftly eclipsed the traditional industry. The emergence of this mechanical marvel signaled a turning point, steering commerce onto a new, steel-clad track. With the momentum of invention, he founded the Jo family brewery, and a single glass of ice shattered the dominance of every rival tavern. The cold triumph resonated across the market, cementing his name as a conqueror of spirits. Because of that, A massive influx of admirers surged to the family residence, a tidal wave of faces that had persisted for 3 years. The constant effort to pacify the relentless crowd rendered ordinary work nearly impossible, each day a battle against swelling tides. Meanwhile, the Jo clan restaurant finally opened its doors, its presence queried by the bustling crowd. The unanimous affirmation echoed back, confirming the eager desire for its culinary offerings. Yet beneath the celebratory murmur, he confessed that the Jo clan's cuisine was the only thing that truly tamed his restless spirit. The rich flavors acted as a fleeting anchor, grounding him amid the surrounding chaos. Meanwhile, a stray thought surfaced: he had neglected the inns, their presence now a source of irritation. The maddening din of those damned establishments added another layer of grievance to his already heavy ledger. Amid the clamor, the young master of the Hwa family sword sect made a renewed appearance. The master's arrival carried the weight of a blade sharpened by old grudges. Yet beneath that arrival, he demanded answers, probing why the Hwa clan had tormented them. The inquiry cut through the tension, seeking the motive behind the sect's relentless harassment. Meanwhile, a simple yet uneasy question slipped through: what hour was it? The request for time underscored the disorientation that clung to the gathering. Before the clock could settle, he reminded everyone that he had not arrived as a friend, demanding clarification of his true purpose. The insistence forced a pause, as all eyes turned to discern his real intent. Yet beneath the scrutiny, he revealed his rank, a junior inspector of the Marine Alliance, his badge a thin shield of authority. The revelation shifted the balance, casting his presence in the light of official scrutiny. Meanwhile, the inspector was escorted into the hall, receiving a formal welcome despite the lingering unease. The gesture of hospitality draped over a tense backdrop, masking the undercurrent of suspicion. Before any further idle chatter, he declared his intention to cut to the heart of the matter. The abrupt resolve sharpened the room's focus, demanding immediate attention. Yet beneath that proclamation, a timeline unfolded. An inspector had arrived 3 months prior, with 2 years left before the next appointment, prompting him to wonder what this interval signified. The question lingered like a cold draft, probing the purpose of the stalled interval. Meanwhile, his thoughts turned to the corporate web, suspecting that the Jo clan's expansive enterprise was a subsidiary of the Namgung clan. The speculation hinted at hidden alliances steering the market's currents. Yet beneath that analysis, he interrogated the classification, asking why the Jo clan's venture stood as an independent entity and what the broader alliance intended. The inquiry pierced the veil of secrecy cloaking their strategic designs. Meanwhile, demographic data surged. Hapbai's population had doubled, poised to rival Nanjing's scale, a metric underscoring the alliance's expansive reach. The growth illuminated the strategic weight behind their collective ambitions. Yet beneath the statistical weight, he reduced their identity to a mere faction, a fragment in the larger mosaic. The dismissal underscored the precariousness of their influence. Meanwhile, the battlefield shifted to Hapbai, now a contested arena where securing the Jo clan's capital could elevate them to the pinnacle among sections. The prospect of financial domination promised supremacy, turning war into a game of wealth. Yet beneath the looming conflict, a grim report arrived: the spy network had been wiped out, leaving the alliance blind and deprived of resources. The loss deepened the darkness, stripping away the eyes that once guided their covert maneuvers. The weight of an impossible choice settled over the council, each mind counting the fleeting moments they still possessed. A silent question lingered: how much time remained before destiny demanded its answer? Still carrying the pressure of that looming deadline, the revelation arrived that the entire network of spies had been erased, leaving the alliance blind and stripped of any advantage. The emptiness of their resources echoed the gravity of the prior decision. Before he could steady himself, the fragile truce that had allowed mutual espionage shattered, exposing the raw mistrust that now festered between the factions. The broken acknowledgement marked a turning point beyond the earlier loss. Yet beneath the growing tension, a summons came to bypass the ceremonial ledger, directing him to follow the hidden path laid out by unseen hands. The urgent command hinted at a covert purpose beyond the formalities. With that directive lingering, the council expressed a hope that wisdom would guide his steps, urging care and intent as they searched for the meaning behind the cryptic summons. Their silent prayer for sound judgment underscored the perilous stakes. Meanwhile, a gathering of the most powerful figures assembled in the hall, the head of the family and the young master among them, their presence a stark reminder of the lineage at risk. The collective weight of legacy pressed upon every breath in the room. Alongside them, the formidable head of the Namgung clan cast his shadow across the proceedings, his reputation a silent force shaping the conversation. The air trembled with the unspoken authority he wielded. Before any further counsel could be offered, the representative of the alliance stepped forward, insisting on delivering a private warning before any other words could pass. His urgent tone signaled that the forthcoming revelation held the balance of their pact. Following his warning, the clause emerged that the Cho family's ventures must fold beneath the Namgung banner, subject to constant scrutiny and a price set at the master's discretion. The proposal turned the concept of autonomy into a tradable commodity. With the price laid bare, a stark warning followed: should they refuse, the alliance would withdraw its protection, rendering the self-styled righteous coalition no more benevolent than any other. The threat stripped away any illusion of noble intent. Before the accusation could settle, they demanded clarification, accusing the listener of misreading the situation through the lens of Kangho's present turmoil. Their rebuke framed the misunderstanding as a personal judgment clouded by recent events. Yet beneath that rebuke, they affirmed their willingness to embrace peril when the gain justified the risk, rejecting any notion of cowardice. This declaration of calculated daring resonated with the earlier call for decisive action. Still resonating, the conversation shifted to the broader greed that drove men to covet wealth earned at the cost of lives, a sentiment echoed by all who witnessed such ambition. The shared acknowledgement painted a grim picture of human desire. With that shared cynicism lingering, they questioned what recourse remained when every hand reached to seize everything, noting the endless appetite that threatened even the Namgung's coffers. The endless greed threatened to erode even the strongest alliances. Before the notion could fade, a statistic resurfaced: Hefei's populace had swelled from 86,000 to 170,000, prompting a renewed inquiry into the Namgung's earnings. The numbers underscored the growing stakes of their economic dominance. Yet the Elders' Council offered a twist: if the family's seniors demanded a step despite differing surnames, the answer lay in acknowledging a Namgung lineage, binding them irrevocably. This conditional loyalty hinted at deeper bonds beneath surface titles. While the lineage debate lingered, a curt reminder arrived that the matter did not serve the alliance's interests, and the listener was instructed to convey the decision to his superior. The instruction narrowed the focus back to personal duty. Before the messenger could depart, a reflection emerged that only a handful of figures in Kangho's history had ever navigated the thin line between virtue and vice, each sharing a mysterious common thread. The rarity of such balance added weight to the present dilemma. An unnamed confidant echoed that observation, reinforcing the notion that the shared trait was not merely anecdotal but recognized across circles. The corroboration deepened the intrigue surrounding the elusive connection. Yet beneath that whispered theory, a stark philosophy unfolded: those who compromise become feeble, while true strength arises from defending one's people and honor even at the cost of one's own life. The council framed sacrifice as the path to genuine power. Before that doctrine could settle, a broader lament surfaced that the world itself seemed bound by a rigid physical schema that pried into the mind, an order the heart could not accept. The existential unrest mirrored the earlier struggle against imposed constraints. Still feeling the tremor of that revelation, a fleeting ecstasy was described, a fleeting joy that made years feel as though they had passed in moments of bliss. The paradox of time and pleasure lingered as a fleeting respite. Yet the lingering euphoria faded as the description turned to eyes turning ghost white, a haunting visual of transformation. The spectral change hinted at an impending metamorphosis. With that haunting image, the narrative shifted to a specialized Marshall Blossom technique, its pinnacle manifested only in the eyes of those who had reached an unfathomable level, such as a youthful prodigy. The rarity of the sign underscored the rarity of mastery. Consequently, it was declared that he now existed in a state beyond comprehension, a condition few could even name. The declaration cemented his isolation from ordinary perception. Meanwhile, among the myriad sects, only 4 sanctuaries housed practitioners of such a condition, each a beacon of the extraordinary. The scarcity amplified the gravity of his new stature. Before the implications could settle, a strategic suggestion arose: enlist a leader or vice-leader of the alliance to sway opinion, promising a return to their cause. The maneuver aimed to leverage authority to mend fractured ties. Yet the plan invoked memories of an uncle-like figure who habitually shielded them from scandal, procuring any desire with effortless ease. The protective presence lingered as a comforting shadow. Still lingering, the notion emerged to grant this man a place within their own family, binding him through honor rather than blood. The proposal blended political pragmatism with filial outreach. Accompanying that offer, a condition was set: marriage could only occur if his bride hailed from within the family, sealing alliances through shared lineage. The stipulation cemented the intertwining of personal and political. Yet the feasibility of such a union was dismissed, as so is unyielding affection for Jang Il-ryong, expressed through daily cooking, made any alternative impossible. The stubborn love underscored the futility of forced ties. Before resignation could take hold, a firm refusal echoed: they would never concede, and if the position was unwanted, the heavenly favor must be returned. The ultimatum reinforced the steadfastness of their resolve. Amidst the stalemate, a proposition surfaced that business could continue untouched, though the family would no longer share life-or-death bonds, prompting a question of what truly defined kinship. The inquiry probed the essence of familial duty. Even as that query hung in the air, the declaration rang clear: this was a great family, no position would be offered, and the forbidden marriage would remain forever denied. The certainty of the decree left little room for compromise. Nevertheless, a call to convene the elders and all family members for a council emerged, demanding clarity on purpose and intent behind the gathering. The summons signaled a turning point toward collective decision. Finally, a lingering question persisted: could they simply rewrite the family as rules to accommodate the shifting tides? The contemplation of reform hung as the final breath of the chapter. An unnamed voice lingered in the dim corridor, admitting their limits and pressing for clarification about the latest demand. The weight of uncertainty settled like a cold draft, hinting at a new trial about to unfold. Still carrying the echo of that denied request, a nearby official pointed toward the influx of Manhwa guests, attributing their presence to the hotel as reputation and probing for any fault within its walls. The question lingered, casting a shadow over the already strained hospitality. Before he could steady himself, the same official confirmed the hotel's shortcomings, noting how affluent children frivolously squandered their fortunes within its halls. The criticism deepened the sense of decay spreading through the establishment. Yet beneath that critique, a whispered inquiry arose about the premarital revelries of young men and women, counting the broken engagements blamed on the hotel's influence. The lingering doubt suggested a societal rot intertwined with the venue's failings. With that lingering unease, a terse comment surfaced about operations capable of sending unwanted visitors away, as if a hidden mechanism lay ready to purge the discord. The implication hinted at measures beyond ordinary hospitality. Meanwhile, the Cho family's enterprise announced a half-month halt, questioning why the hotel itself had been forced into closure. The pause amplified the tension, suggesting deeper forces at play. Still bearing the weight of halted commerce, a disgruntled guest complained of absent cold tea, a son's refusal to eat rice, and a bleak yearning that life without these comforts felt nearer to death. The lament painted a portrait of desperation amidst scarcity. Before the resentment could settle, a hurried inquiry emerged about the name of a limited cloud carriage, promising swift acquisition. The fleeting hope offered a brief respite from the prevailing gloom. Yet the same voice reaffirmed the subject of conversation, recalling an event only 2 days prior, anchoring the present to a recent memory. This reminder stitched the timeline tighter, binding past and present. With that recollection still fresh, a question turned toward the whereabouts of the visitors stationed at the Blue Building, seeking their exact position. The search for their location underscored the mounting urgency. Meanwhile, a somber whisper asked what fate had befallen their family, echoing the personal toll of the chaotic circumstances. The query weighed heavily, hinting at loss beyond mere business. Before the grief could fully settle, an explanation unfolded about prepared solutions for potential crises arising in the transcendent state. The strategic foresight offered a glimmer of control amidst upheaval. Still haunted by the looming threats, a reminder surfaced of a pending payment for a design, noting 100 coins already given and probing for lingering guilt. The financial obligation added another layer of tension. Yet an assuring presence interjected, urging calm, inviting excuses, and declaring an inability to make alliance-bound decisions. The restraint hinted at underlying hierarchies limiting action. With that reassurance echoing, a suggestion arose that the other party might continue disrupting business, invoking the alliance's shadow. The implication of continued sabotage kept the distrust alive. Meanwhile, a lowly employee confessed his powerlessness when orders came directly from his superior, emphasizing the chain of command is grip. The admission reinforced the theme of constrained agency. Before the resignation could settle, a plea emerged to cease further trouble, to report back to the alliance, and to recall whether a prior suggestion had been made. The request underscored an urgent need for coordination. Yet a flat denial followed, declaring the impossibility of complying with the demand. The refusal hardened the atmosphere, sealing the stalemate. Still echoing through the confrontation, it was declared that money was not the issue for Warrior Jo, the Alliance, or the Jeagle clan, shifting focus to motives beyond wealth. The statement redirected the conflict toward deeper ambitions. Meanwhile, a courteous greeting reached young Master Jo, marking a brief pause in the tension as respect briefly resurfaced. The acknowledgement hinted at lingering formalities amidst turmoil. Before the greeting faded, a yearning to learn from another surfaced, accompanied by confidence that matters had already been finalized. The desire for mentorship suggested a path forward despite chaos. Yet the narrative noted that since the family head had acted, his authority equaled that of the elders, obliging them to instruct the younger. The shift in power dynamics added weight to the educational burden. With that authority now clear, astonishment spread as an observer could not fathom how someone of similar age had already attained such mastery, marveling at the achievement. The awe highlighted the extraordinary talent emerging. Meanwhile, another voice confessed feeling vastly inferior, yet proclaimed an unyielding fighting spirit despite the gap. The resolve forged a quiet determination against the towering skill. Before the resolve could fully ignite, an explicit command arrived to begin teaching Mel at once. The directive transformed intent into immediate action. Yet a critical observation followed, declaring that the current transposition was flawed and that an illusion must be abandoned. The correction suggested a pivotal shift in perception. With that revelation hanging, a probing question emerged about how the Emperor had dispersed the earthquake. The inquiry sought to uncover the magnitude of his power. Meanwhile, contemplation arose whether observing the flow of chi could dismantle a technique, noting the lack of explanation. The speculation hinted at deeper mystical mechanics. Before the mystery could resolve, a skeptical query asked whether any human could achieve such a feat. The doubt underscored the near-mythic nature of the ability. Yet the narrative noted the recurrence of the same attack, reinforcing the relentless pattern. The repetition amplified the looming threat. With the pattern established, it was asserted that the Emperor's sky-high talent prevented the use of that skill against him. The protective aura cast a veil of invulnerability. Meanwhile, curiosity resurfaced, demanding the name of the technique that had been employed. The hunt for its identity drove the discourse forward. Before the answer could surface, a request pressed for the specific designation of that method. The pursuit of knowledge persisted. Finally, it was revealed that the sword in question bore the name, the gun, sealing the mystery with a stark, weaponized truth. The revelation anchored the saga's climax.